How much money can a food truck make? People ask this question at all stages of food truck ownership, from the point they start dreaming about owning a food truck until they realize, man, I've been open for years and I still don't have any profit. Today I answer that question and we'll talk about some real numbers. Welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach, author of 5 food truck vending books, including Food Truck 101 and Food Truck 201. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business.
I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
The sky is the limit when it comes to answering how much money can a food truck make. If you can dream it, you can achieve it. The question now becomes, how do we achieve it? Understand the second thing I teach is numbers. Once you have a full understanding of what's legally required in your area, then we turn our focus to numbers of the business and numbers specifically for your business based on your costs. And I mean every number, every expense, every cost must be accounted for. We cannot, let me repeat that, we cannot predict profitability without an intimate knowledge of our own business numbers. This business is so much more than buying $100 worth of food and then selling it tomorrow for $200. And just so you know, that's not 50% profit. That extra $100 is already spoken for and then some. I know you're saying, but Bill, what does this have to do with how much money my food truck can make? It has everything to do with that question. If you're a builder, you're in construction, do you start with the roof and build to the ground? Or do you start with the foundation and build up? Hopefully you've seen a big building being built and you notice that they spend a whole bunch of time getting the foundation right before they erect one upright. Business is the same way. We start with a foundation of numbers and build the important parts of the operation on top of that. Operations, if you don't know, is quality, service, cleanliness, and community. Those help ensure you increase your revenue, but, and this is a very big but, if you don't understand your numbers, you simply will not make money no matter how much revenue you generate. Think of it this way. Would you rather have $100,000 in profit on $1 million in sales, or would you rather have $100,000 in profit on $500,000 in sales? $1 million in sales is certainly doable for a food truck, but do you want 10% profit or do you want 20% profit? That's the question. Who is working harder to achieve comparatively less? And hopefully you answered that it's the dude with $1 million in sales. He generated a whole bunch of sales, but only brought in the same amount as the other person with $500,000 in sales. $1 million in sales is often represented in some guru presentation as, hey, it's only $343 an hour. You can do it. Follow me for more great advice, and eventually I'm going to try to sell you something that's really, really expensive. Yes, the math works. 343 times 8 hours a day times 365 days a year is just over $1 million in sales. But again, that speaks nothing towards profit. It is possible to generate $1 million in sales and still have more than $1 million in expenses. The foundation you need to answer, how much can a food truck make, is based on revenue generation relative to the service capacity and cooking capacity of the equipment on the truck and the cash management ability of the owner. You will be in for a frustratingly long food truck life if you don't understand those 3 things. That's service capacity, cooking capacity, cash management. Service capacity is how many orders your cashier can take per hour without rushing the guest and without losing upsell opportunities. A comfortable goal is 1 guest per minute. If a family of 10 people comes up, that gives you 10 minutes to get that order. A goal has to start somewhere. 1 order every minute. The cap for your food truck, though, is cooking capacity. Even with a mile-long line at your window, the cooking capacity is the top amount of food your equipment can produce, and you cannot exceed that without compromising quality. which is one of the pillars built on your numbers foundation. Keep that service capacity in the back of your mind for just 1 second. Let's look at numbers, just sheer numbers. Every guest coming up to your truck should represent a dollar amount to you, and that dollar amount goes towards your revenue. This is known as a guest check average. This is not a ticket average. That family of 10, they got rung up on one ticket. So that ticket, that big order ups your ticket average because it's one ticket. But each of those individuals in that family represent a dollar amount. And that's not going to vary a whole lot once you establish the average. So if you're looking at a single guest, you want to think about how much are they worth to you on an individual basis. Not whether they're with the office that orders 20 meals or the family that orders 10. You're worried about what that single person is worth to your business. Every person coming to your food truck is worth some dollar amount to you. So if your service capacity is one guest every minute, that is 60 guests per hour. If each guest is ordering on average $15 worth of food, just for themselves, 60 times 15 is $900 an hour. To do $1 million in sales, that would take 139 days, working 8 hours a day. Wow. Working less than half the year to generate $1 million in revenue. That's awesome, right? Let me tell you 2 things to bring you back down to earth. First, marketing enough to get 60 people coming to your food truck every single hour of the day. Can you do it? And the important one, you must manage the cash flow properly. If you don't have a good grasp on all of your expenses and the role that they play in your day-to-day cash flow, it won't matter how much your sales are. So what are the possibilities for revenue? There's a vendor right now in Minnesota that does over $3 million annually selling one product. Chocolate chip cookies at the state fair. They started under a tent. There's a food truck owner I know that does the music festival circuit, and they do over $2 million annually, driving primarily from Texas down to Miami and back. This is a single food truck. I work with a few food trucks that do $1 million annually, and I work with a bunch that do around $500,000 annually. Generating revenue is only half the battle. The other half is managing those expenses. And you manage expenses by monitoring your variable costs. Now, what is a variable cost? It's food cost. It's, to some extent, your labor cost. It's cleaning supplies. It's office supplies. It's marketing. It's repair and maintenance. That's just to name a few. A variable cost is expressed as a percentage. The dollars go up as your sales go up. The dollars go down as your sales go down. But the percentage remains the same. If your food cost goal is a 25% food cost, you have to work to hit that 25% food cost. Just because on paper, when you're sitting at the dining room table writing your recipes and you go, 4 times cost, 25% food cost, it doesn't mean that's what you're actually spending in cash. You have to monitor those costs. How do you monitor food costs? It means you're taking an inventory, a physical get off your butt and count the food that's on your food truck inventory. You count it at the end of the week to know what you have spent the week that just ended. That count you do at the end of the week becomes the opening inventory for the new week, and then you buy food relative to what you still have on hand. And at the end of that week, you're going to count an inventory again and subtract the difference and see what you did actually use in food cost. You can go out of business by buying too much food and not accounting for it properly. For example, if you want to run a 25% food cost and you should only buy 25% of your sales projection in food cost. You want to do $10,000 this week? Your food cost that you go out to the store and buy should not exceed $2,500. You look at the inventory that you have on hand and subtract that amount. So if you have $500 on hand, you should only be buying $2,000 worth of food for this coming sales period. End of the week, if all things are perfect, you run totally out of food, you did $10,000 in sales, you're happy. That's a 25% food cost. If, however, you get close to the end of the week and you've run out of food, but you haven't hit $10,000, guess what? You have a food cost problem. I don't have to take an inventory. I don't have to do any kind of yield. I don't have to do anything to tell you you've not hit your food cost goal. You have to monitor expenses in real time. A profit and loss statement is history. It's showing you what you did. All you can do is learn from that history and hopefully don't make the same mistake going forward. But you got to stay on top of your expenses every single day. How much am I putting in propane? Does this propane usage make sense for our sales volume? You could have a leak, and your expense report is going to show that leak probably before you smell it, because it would have to be a big leak for you to be able to smell it. But a little leak is going to show up on your expense reports, because you should be using about the same amount of propane each week, as long as your hours of operation remain about the same. You have to control expenses in real time. Controlling expenses can be challenging. There is no doubt about it. But if you want to make the most money that you possibly can and put that money on the bottom line, you have to monitor and control your expenses every single day. So that's spending money you got coming in. Every single day you got to market. You got to generate the revenue in the first place. You are the only person that can answer how much money does a food truck make, because it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter what the dude down the road does. It doesn't matter what Cousin's Lobster does or Love's Waffles does or any of the other chain food trucks. It doesn't matter what the dude that does $3 million in chocolate chip cookies does. What matters is what you can do. I personally have put 40% to the bottom line on a food trailer, and I've done more off the hot dog cart percentage-wise. But that doesn't matter. What matters is what you can do. You got to understand those numbers. You got to understand the basics. You got to build that foundation. Foundation has to be built on numbers that make sense, because you can literally market yourself out of business. You can bring in so much people, but you can't handle them service-wise that you'll eventually chase them all away. And if you handle them service-wise, but you're not putting enough money into the bank because you're not managing your expenses, you go out of business not because of revenue. You go out of business because of yourself. Thank you so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding all the information helpful to your food truck business, please become a monthly supporter of the podcast. Just hit the support button or follow the link in the description. Every little bit does help keep us going. Join our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. We have a whole bunch of awesome members at all different levels, from brand new beginners to decades-old veterans. They've all got your back when it comes to helping you with your food truck. And again, thank you for listening. Come back tomorrow, because you know I got plenty more to say when it comes to helping you and your food truck business grow.